There's been a new Sandbox development blog posted today. Hello and welcome, my name is Crayz, and I've been bringing everybody the latest and greatest news on Sandbox development, keeping the community updated for, what's it been, like 3 years now? Fuck, man, it's been a while. So, we've got some awesome news to share. Early access might be coming a little sooner than we expected. But first, let's jump right into this blog and figure out what's all new. Both Garry and Layla are working on the classic Gmod Sandbox from Garry's mod. I quote, "We started playing with a sandbox game mode which is based on Gmod Sandbox mode. We're not really doing it seriously just yet, but using it as a way to make sure things as possible to stretch the modding capabilities." Now, there seems to be a little grammar error there, maybe a couple missing words, but just use your imagination to figure out what he was trying to say. Layla's been working on the sandbox tools. This includes wheels, thrusters, remover, balloons, and more balloons. An interesting note from Layla in this blog is, quote, "The biggest thing for me is how well the physics get networked in multiplayer. Everything just seems to work exactly like it does in a local game. I'm loving Source 2 the more I use it," end quote. And if we look back at all the Sandbox videos that have been released, it is pretty obvious that the networking is very well. The physics, you don't see any jankiness or jittering or whatever. It all looks very well, almost as if it's a single player game. Just imagine Garry's mod and what physics objects are like in a multiplayer environment. And I'll compare it to all these videos that we've seen of Sandbox, and there is a huge difference, day and night. Speaking of day and night, let's check out what Sam has been working on. Oh, golly gee, what a coincidence. Look at that. Look at that. I want you to flex your imagination a little bit and just think about a proper day and night system and how it can create some unique game modes or affect existing game modes like Trouble in Terrorist Town or Zombie Survival or whatever. This alone is going to create such an interesting dynamic in gameplay and just open up the doors for so much more. Sam has also been working on miscellaneous other graphical improvements. Quote, "On the side, I've worked on some small graphical changes that I believe benefit greatly the quality of life of the game." And of course, water. Water has been another one of the primary focuses in the graphics department. You don't often get good looking water in video games, but when you do, it sure is a treat, and Sandbox is gonna be tasty. We are almost to the point in the blog about the early access. There are just a few more things to go over, but don't you worry, these things are just as good as the early access news. Let's hop right in. Garry has implemented matchmaking, and the way it works is not quite like Counter-Strike, where it's competitive. Well, it's kind of similar, but basically you select a game mode you want to play, and the matchmaker will find other people who also want to play this game mode, and you guys are sort of just tossed into a game together. Or maybe you're tossed into an existing game. And here you can see a couple new user interface elements, the new in-game developer console called Dev Console V4, and the chat box, which has support for emojis. Emojis are great, are they not? And then we've got breakables. So for example, when you shoot a box, the box breaks into various pieces. These pieces are called gibs, and gibs are spawned through C# after a prop is destroyed. And the next big thing that Garry has been working on is the particle system. So Source Engine's particle system has been notoriously bad, difficult to work with, and sort of bloated. Garry, instead of recreating his own particle system as he did in Garry's mod, decided to take the existing particle system and make it better. I quote, "The Source particle editor has always been prohibitively complicated for me. That's why in Garry's mod I made our own particle system. I don't really want to have to do that again if I don't have to, so I've been looking at how we can make the existing particle system work for us." And then he goes on to outline some of the changes that he is making with the particle system. There's been some work on hitboxes and unsticking, so if you no clip into a wall and then you remove your no clip, there's going to be a system that automatically moves you outside of the wall. Very helpful feature to have by default because, you know, when you're messing around with a sandbox game mode, sometimes you might accidentally spawn a cinder block inside of your chest or get teleported into a wall. All right, the juicy part that everybody's been waiting for, early access. This was the final section in the blog and we are now covering it. Early access. What's going on? Basically, Garry is looking to invite people to play the game so they can do some better testing, because so far the only testing that they have done is with the developers of the game, and to get a proper test and make sure all the bugs are fixed and there's a proper user experience for when the game is released to the masses, they're gonna have to invite people in and get some feedback and slowly, gradually work their way towards the perfect game. Here is what Garry said exactly. Quote, I'm having tons of fun developing in relative isolation, but I'm also keen to get more people playing Sandbox as soon as possible. I'm putting thought into working out the best way to get there and what needs to be done before then. We haven't done a decent internal test. We've had 3 to 4 people in a game and messed about, but that doesn't really count. Doing that feels feasible now, so that's going to be my aim over the next couple of weeks. There hasn't been a ton of thoughts on what it's like to develop without the engine source or getting people to join your game when they don't have the game mode. This is stuff I feel I need to address before we can invite people in, but it's also something that we won't get really right until people are using it. So it might be better to give access sooner rather than later. And there you have it. Early access is potentially coming sooner, but probably just for certain people. It's going to be special invite only, most likely. And then I assume as time goes on, more and more people are going to get invited. Maybe eventually one day they're just going to invite everybody and call it a release. I don't know. Maybe the game won't get released. What do you think about that? Maybe Garry loves the game so much that he doesn't want anybody else to have it. Well, there's some food for thought for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Looking forward to seeing future updates with Sandbox. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. It really supports my channel. It helps the YouTube algorithm promote my content and helps the channel grow. So, of course, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.